Welcome to Inside Your County Government. I'm your Community Engagement Coordinator, Doria Fleischer. We have another episode today of Let's Get Fiscal. We're going to be talking about the Enterprise Fund with our Chief of Budget, Jake Dyer. Jake, thanks for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So Jake, I want to first start by saying, at the end of our last episode, you talked about how you were going to go to career day at your child's school and talk about your job, and that you were worried that you weren't going to maybe be the coolest in the room and that you had to figure out ways to explain it. So how did it go?
I think it went okay. They seemed engaged. It's definitely not the coolest job when you have them coming from an EMT or a police officer and then they come to the chief of budget. And I'm sure, it was a tough one for them to come to and listen to, but they definitely listened. I played a little game with them where I gave them some money and had them budget accordingly. I had them split up in different boxes and so forth. So they seemed engaged. They seemed to like it. So I would take it as a win.
So our youngest residents, where do they think the majority of our money should be spent?
Well, some groups were different, but it was most of the money went to how we kind of spend our money now. Most of it went to the school system, and most of it, and then the other half kind of went to the police and fire areas.
I'm thrilled to hear that our young guys are already starting to think about how to spend our money wisely. That's great.
Oh, cool.
So, Jake, the purpose of this Let's Get Fiscal series is to help our residents understand what can feel like a complicated process, all this budget stuff in Charles County. And this is budget season, yes?
Correct.
What does that mean?
So we kicked off our budget season. We started that in March. So what that means is we start making presentations to the commissioners on what the budget would look like starting July 1, 2023, ending June 30th, 2024. So that budget presentation includes the general fund, which is funded by the tax dollars as well as miscellaneous fees that kind of really supports the school system and the sheriff's office and so forth. But we also have enterprise funds that is really its own fund that doesn't go into the general fund, and it has its own books of accounting that really pays for a specific purpose for people that actually use that fund. So we started that presentation off 2 Tuesdays ago. So that was our first presentation. And then once we were done with these enterprise funds, which I would like to maybe explain a little bit today what was in those, and then we would start working towards the general fund presentations in the middle of April.
Awesome. So the spring is kind of your chance to say to the commissioners, this is what we think should happen for the next fiscal year.
Correct.
And when we talk about fiscal year, you said it's that July 1 all the way through June 30th.
Correct.
Gotcha. All right. So fiscal year 2024, here we go, right?
Yes.
All right. What is an enterprise fund, Jake? What does that mean?
So an enterprise fund, it's a fund that there's different ones. We have several. We have a water and sewer enterprise fund. We have a recreation enterprise fund. We have a inspection review. There's a few more that I'll go with today, but it's really a fund that manages for specific costs. So the water and sewer fund is a fund that manages the county's water and sewer system. Then we have the recreation fund that covers the different sort of recreation activities and programs that it's offered to our residents in the county and so forth. So that's the enterprise fund. It just really puts those monies in the fund that is paid for by customers who want to use that fund. And,
Gotcha.
so it keeps it out of the general fund. So the general fund is to support general day-to-day activities, while if you want to sign up for that swim lesson, then you pay for that swim lesson and it goes into this recreation fund.
Gotcha. So when I think about it kind of in terms of like my family household, I've got kind of all my own money and that goes to just the general running of my household. Right. But if I know that we're taking a vacation this year, that money goes into the vacation fund. Right. We only spend it on vacation. It's very kind of specific to that. Yeah?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha. And each of these have kind of those user fees attached to it, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so whereas every time I go to school or every time I drive on a county road, I don't pay money. Mm-hmm. These are the things that I have to pay money to use in the county. Is that an accurate statement?
Yeah, that's a great way of saying it.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so let's dive into what do our residents need to know about the enterprise funds? What does this look like?
Yes. So the first one I would like to talk about is our Recreation Enterprise Fund. This is a fund, if I had the website in front of me, you would see it's like a color wheel of so many different programs that's been managed by our Recreation Parks and Tourism Department. It includes funding for sports programs, for like basketball or field hockey and so forth. It has the gymnastics program that's Elite Gymnastics in Waldorf. Those costs are in this fund.
Okay.
We have, as well as like various aging programs. Aquatics is in this fund. It's really the aquatics part is if you need that swim lesson and so forth, or you're going to do a birthday party at a pool.
Okay.
So those funds, that budget was presented. It's in balance. We were for this.
So I'm going to pause you for a sec,
Yeah.
Jake, for our residents. What is that when you say in balance? What does that mean?
So when it's in balance, that means we don't need to ask the commissioners to generate additional fee increases to support the cost that it takes to operate that.
So kind of
fund.
what we're doing is working. We're going to keep doing it.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay. So that one's in balance. So that's good
Okay,
news.
great.
Right. So recreation activities can still continue without asking the the citizens to pay more.
Beautiful. Okay.
All right. Another fund that we talked about with the commissioners was our cable franchise operations fund. So that's a fund that really manages the media division, the one where we're talking right now.
I want this fund to do well. This is
Right.
important to me, right?
Correct. It also pays for the ability to do with some of our IT, like as in communication and so forth, to make sure we can have the bandwidth. One thing, so we have this fund also in balance. So
Excellent.
that's a good thing. And this fund is supported by what we call franchise fees. So if you are a cable subscriber for Verizon, Fios, or Comcast, you pay a franchise fee on your cable bill. Those revenues come into this fund to pay for these type of activities.
And that's another great example of if these funds are only if somebody's using it, right? So
Correct.
if I have Verizon, I'm paying Verizon, and that money comes back to county government.
Correct.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Okay, but if I don't have Verizon, oh well, I'm not paying in. It's not paying me back out in Verizon services.
Correct.
Gorgeous. Okay.
Okay. Another fund that we presented, because it's a lot of funds, like I said, is our Inspection and Review Enterprise Fund.
Okay.
This is a fund that's really managed by our Planning and Growth Management Department, and it's really a fund for our developers to pay into. So when they are developing a new piece of property, they pay permits, they pay inspection fees and so forth, to really make sure the building is being built to standards. So they pay into this fund,
Okay.
and the county provides services to that fund. So,
Excellent.
So that's another fund that we presented to the commissioners.
Okay, and this one's still in balance?
This one's in balance. This one does have fee increases,
Okay.
but those fee increases are really tied to a lot of this program is managed by third-party contracts. So a lot of our fee increases are increased to help pay for those contracts.
Okay.
Okay. Another fund that we presented, which is really where we started to get into some funds that need increases for
Okay.
next year. One of them would be our Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund. That does have a proposed budget. It's our largest enterprise fund. It's a proposed budget of about just under $55 million. So there's a lot of costs that go in there. It pays for about 178 employees. Okay. Our biggest expenditure for the Water and Sewer Fund is the Madam Woman wastewater treatment plant. Again, the ones that are paying into this fund are the ones that are on the county's water and sewer system.
Gotcha.
Okay. So if you're on well and septic, you're not paying into this fund. So this fund was presented out of balance. So what that means is, since it's out of balance, we need the commissioners to support a fee increase to support that fee, to support that fund. It's actually out of balance. And the reason why it's kind of out of balance is normally out of balance. So typically our costs are exceeding our revenues each year.
Okay.
But the reason why it's going out of balance more than this year than maybe previous years is because our infrastructure is aging. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're aging, and to keep that aging infrastructure up to standards, we have to put more money into that infrastructure because we want to make sure it's operating correctly. So to ensure that the citizen, when they turn on their water, they have water coming out, or ensure when they are flushing their toilet, it's going to the correct spot. So,
And when we talk about Madam Woman wastewater treatment, we're not just talking that you turn your water on and you get the water.
Right.
We're talking you turn your water on and you get clean
Yes,
water, right?
clean
That
water.
this is not just, the county's not just responsible for water going through your pipes, but that it is clean, safe water going
Right.
through your pipes. Okay.
Yes, and then it goes when it goes to Madam Woman wastewater treatment, there's standards they have to do to treat what's there and make sure it doesn't cause any harm to the environment.
Makes
so
sense.
that fund is going to need a rate increase for it to be in balance as was proposed to the commissioners.
So you go to the commissioners and you say, hey, this budget's out of balance.
Right.
We need to increase how much we're going to ask residents to pay.
Correct.
The commissioners then have a chance to make that decision.
Correct.
And then residents' fees go up if it's decided that way. Okay,
Right.
just
So
making sure we're
the
clear on
fee
the
increase
process.
is what it's presented. It's on our website. We try to do our best to put that notification out there so the citizens and the ones that are using the water system should hopefully be aware of what those increases will be if the budget is approved.
Excellent. And I know we're not going to get into this today, and I promise I'll stay on track for budget stuff, but my brain is doing all of that. Where else does this matter for residents? And I know we need to look at some of the content we have that we share with residents about how to keep your water usage low. And it's reminding me this would be a great time to share that again, because there are things residents can do to make sure that their water usage is as low as possible to keep their bill as low as possible.
Correct.
So thanks for that reminder that we need to get some more media content out there.
All right,
Thank
cool.
you.
You're welcome. So another also in this water and sewer fund, it does have has its own capital improvement program. So the capital improvement program is really to pay for infrastructure to come into the county. Well, a lot of that infrastructure that is in this fund is to support future growth. So as the county is growing, we have to be prepared to put infrastructure in to support that growth. So we do have a rather large CIP related to the water and sewer fund. So that's also was presented to the commissioners on 2 Tuesdays ago.
Makes sense. Okay.
Another fund that we presented to the commissioners is our environmental service fund. This is really the recycling. Most of the costs that go in this fund is recycling. It's that blue bin that you roll out to your driveway for someone to come pick up, or it's that recycling center that you go to drop off your recycling.
Makes sense.
Okay, so it's out of balance.
Okay.
It also, which is typical. So we're also asking the commissioners to do a fee increase for that fund, and that fee is paid essentially. It's on your property tax bill. It's an isolated fee on your property tax bill that you pay into when you get that bill.
Makes sense. Okay.
So another fund that we have.
They just keep coming.
They keep coming. There's a lot of funds. Is our landfill operations fund. That basically goes into the manages the day-to-day operations of the landfill. So if you utilize our landfill, if you pay someone to haul trash from your house to a landfill, they don't have to go to the Charles County landfill. They could go to cross the bridge into Virginia, but if they utilize the Charles County landfill, they're paying a fee.
So if I have trash pick up at my house, I pay the contractor.
Correct.
And then wherever the contractor takes that trash is the user fee.
Yes.
And if they're taking the trash to Charles County landfill, that's where this fund operates out of. Okay,
Perfect.
Beautiful.
That's
and
a
when
great
I
way
go
to
to
say
the
it.
landfill, because I don't have trash pickup at my
Right.
house, when I go to the landfill and I pay that fee to dump my trash, that's this fund.
Correct.
Beautiful. Okay.
So one thing that's unique about this fund is it not only does it pay for the day-to-day operations of it, but it also, we're setting aside funds for future expansion. So we want to make sure we're in a position that we have money set aside so when the landfill is filled up. So at the landfill site, there's many different cells.
Right.
They call them cells. And when that cell is filled up, we have to be prepared to have another cell available. So we put money aside in this fund every year to make sure there's capital funds aside to build the next cell. But we also are setting funds aside to make sure when the day comes when the landfill is at 100% capacity, we have a lot of obligations to the environment to make sure we are maintaining the landfill. And since once the landfill is closed, there's no more fees coming into that landfill. So we have to set funds aside to make sure we have those costs. We have the ability to pay those costs in future years.
And it's interesting because I totally agree when you say we need to protect the environment. We need to make sure that we're planning ahead, but also that's protecting our residents, right? That if I buy my house here and I plan to live here for the next 50 years, I'm not going to all of a sudden be told, well, we're out of a landfill. Good luck finding a place to put your trash. So this is that good planning ahead for everyone.
Correct.
Okay.
So, and again, it's another one of our larger funds.
Okay.
It actually has about 40 positions that are funded there.
Wow.
Okay. All right. One more.
The only thing I like about the landfill is the bald eagles, Jake. I got to be honest. I don't want to work at the landfill, but I really like going and seeing the bald eagles. So, yeah, fund them. Okay.
Another fund is our Watershed Protection and Restoration Fund. That's really our fund to make sure the pollutants don't come into the rivers. So when it rains, when it hits the roads and runs off, it runs off into the streams and so forth. It's really to protect the streams and so forth. So we have clean water.
Okay.
The rivers are clean, protecting the bay.
Makes sense.
So when we pulled up that chart, you would see there's many, many different departments that's part of this fund. One of them being plan and growth management, so that's planning. They're planning ahead. We also have road maintenance, so roads goes through and make sure the roads is properly done, so that that runoff doesn't go into the streams. We have various areas, but again, as this fund grows, because this is one of our newer funds. This fund's maybe been in existence for about 10 years or so, but so each year we've been scheduling fee increases.
We just know it's going to cost more each year.
Yes,
Okay.
and this fee is another one of those fees that's on your property tax bill.
Okay.
It's called the stormwater remediation fee. So that fee is increasing as well, but that's really to pay our bills.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Okay.
And one thing I failed to mention when I talk about enterprise funds in general, when we set the fees, we're really trying to break even. None of the enterprise funds are supposed to generate a profit. We're not a business trying to generate profit. We're trying to set our fees at the level to meet our costs.
Meet the cost, and also it sounds like save for that future
Future
stuff. Yeah,
right.
but this is not county government's rich because we got so much money off of our residents.
Yeah, we don't need to make money to pay our shareholders.
That
right?
makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
We're not a corporation or so. We're just trying to set our budget to cover our costs.
Beautiful. Okay, thanks for clarifying.
All right. And that's really our enterprise funds that we reviewed. One other thing that we did review with the commissioners at the last budget cycle was our fees and charges list. And that's really a comprehensive list to not only show the commissioners what the fees are now and what they could be increasing to, not only for these enterprise funds, but there are some fees that go into the general fund. So we present that as well. And we have a page that breaks down what are the new fees that are being proposed to the commissioners, and it's kind of broken down by department or function. And then we have a list that shows you the all fees that shows you what they are now and what they are being proposed to be next year. And then we have a notes/justification that kind of maybe explain why that fee is changing.
That makes sense.
Okay.
And we'll put all of that information in the show notes so people can get to those sites and see it in live action.
Right. So because we got to make sure when we set our fees, we got to make sure we're covering our costs. Because if we don't set the fees accordingly to cover our costs, then another funding source has to cover that, which then could hurt our ability to fund other requests like the school system, the sheriff's office, and so forth.
So we want these services to really be paid by the fee, covering it, like you said, not making money off of it, but making sure that all these are covering what we need.
Correct.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. Jake, what do our residents do if they want more information, if they want to get more involved in this process, if they're listening to you talk and think, oh my gosh, this is really interesting, I want to know more?
Yeah, so all the information is on our website. First of all, it's on the Budget Division's website. Every single budget presentation that we present to the commissioners, we put it on our website. So it's out there for anyone to see. So they can look at it and you can drill down, like what's in the Watershed Protection and Restoration Fund, and you can look into that and see what's more. And another thing, we also have a budget calendar out there, and that's really a calendar to show what our schedule dates are to present the budget. So it talks about future budget presentations. One day to look at, if anyone would like to voice their opinion one way or another on what's presented in the enterprise funds, the general fund, or any type of 24 budget activity, is our public hearing. That public hearing is scheduled for Wednesday, April 26th.
Say it again for the people in the back, Jake. When is that public hearing?
Wednesday, April 26th.
Good. So we really want people to show up for that. Yeah, that's a great way to get involved and feel like your voice is heard.
Correct.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. Jake, thank you so much for another educational and engaging way to explain what's going on with our budget. I appreciate it so much. You'll be back for our next episode. We're going to keep talking about the budget series, what's going on.
Yes. So the next budget series, I'm hopeful that we could talk what we are presenting to the commissioners with related to our general fund, as well as our governmental capital improvement program. So the governmental capital improvement program includes schools, roads, parks, funding projects for College of Southern Maryland, as well as our general government, which is our infrastructure-related projects like an animal shelter or a library, as well as any land preservation kind of funds that we have out there to preserve property.
All the important stuff.
Yes.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Jake.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Let's Get Fiscal, part of our Inside Your County Government series. Thank you so much. Take care. Stay safe. Stay engaged. For more information on Charles County government, visit our website, www.charlescountymd.gov. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter and subscribe to our county's e-news. Don't forget to sign up for our text and email alerts through the citizen notification system. You can watch CCG TV on Comcast Channel 95 or Verizon Fios 10. We're also streaming on Apple TV and Roku devices. Just search Charles County Government. Subscribe to our podcast wherever you get your podcasts by searching Charles County Government. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.